This is Koba-sensei from ITeens Lab. This is the 17th video in our series explaining how to use Unity. In this episode, I'd like to explain a feature called Canvas. This feature lets you display things like scores or time limits as text on the screen. Being able to show scores or time limits on the screen really makes your game feel more like a real game. This is also an essential feature when making games in Unity, so let's make sure to learn it well. Alright, let's get started. Let's go ahead and start a new project. Since we'll be working with Canvas this time, I'm going to name the project Canvas. Alright, let's take a look. So, when you're making a game, you might want to display things like the score, or show hit points, or maybe display a game over message. There are all sorts of things you might want to show on the screen. For that kind of display functionality, there's something called Canvas, so I'd like to explain that this time. First, as preparation, it's a bit hard to understand if there's nothing on the screen, so I'm going to start by placing a 3D object. Alright, so for now, let's go ahead and display something on the screen. Here, in the hierarchy window, right-click. Today, we'll be working with UI, right here. Not 3D objects, but UI. Here, you'll see something called Canvas. Let's click on this canvas. Okay, and when you do, you'll see these white lines appear. If you take a look, these white lines are actually really huge. And also, yes, which direction? It looks something like this. If you look at it from an angle where the x-axis is to the right and the z-axis goes into the distance, you'll see the canvas correctly. But even then, you still can't see the whole thing, so let's try double-clicking on the canvas. Alright, now the view is shifted so you can see the whole thing clearly. It looks like this. When you insert a canvas, this is what appears. You might be wondering what this is. It's probably pretty confusing, but let's keep going. This time, right-click on the canvas and select Create UI. Let's try adding a UI text element. When you do that, you'll see that this text element has appeared here. It says New Text. And in this state, if you look at the screen below, you'll see that new text has appeared there as well. Now, can you all see this? The cube that's currently shown in the lower camera is actually really tiny. Compared to the canvas, it's super small. Let me double-click on it. There it is. This cube is moved over here. And now, let's keep going, step by step. As we zoom out more and more, you can see it here. It looks like we can place it right in the center of the canvas. It looks like this. This might be a little hard to understand, but this canvas, the white outline here, marks the outer edge of the camera, and this text here as well. By moving the text here, you can change where this text appears in relation to the camera. Yes. And here's an important point. It's crucial to add this text as a child of the canvas, establishing a parent-child relationship like this. Why is that? Basically, if you right-click on the canvas and select UI text, the text will be added as a child of the canvas. Now, let's try editing the content of this text a bit, so go ahead and click on the text. Now, in the inspector for the text, you'll see various settings, but where it says New Text, go ahead and type in whatever you like. Try entering any text you prefer, whatever you want.
So, let's try writing your favorite character, and here the character appears. But here's the thing, the point is, it's cut off in the middle, isn't it? Let's try writing your favorite character. So, I'm using the inspector here. I've actually written all the way to the exclamation mark, but the whole thing isn't being displayed at all. The reason this is happening is because there's this text box here. Since the text is overflowing outside of this box, it's not being shown. So, to prevent this from happening, here's what you do. In the text inspector, there are options called horizontal overflow and vertical overflow. What these mean is, basically, if the text spills out of this box, if it goes beyond the boundaries of this rectangle, what should happen? That's what these overflow settings are for. If you set both to overflow, the text will be displayed properly regardless of the size of the box. By default, these settings aren't both set to overflow, but I think it's safest to set both to overflow. So, whenever you write text, I recommend setting both horizontal overflow and vertical overflow to overflow, not to wrap or anything else. I think that will work best. Next, you can move and adjust this. For example, if you want to display it in the top left corner, just move it to the top left of the canvas. If you want to display it in the bottom right, move it to the bottom right of the canvas. In this way, you can control how things are displayed on the screen. For example, you might want to show the remaining time in the top left, the score in the top right, or game over in the center of the screen. In those cases, this canvas feature becomes really useful. Next, let's say you want to make this text or these characters bigger. There's a font size option here. So let's try setting it to 20 or maybe even around 40. Okay, let's give that a try. In this way, you can keep adding text like this. For example, not just text, you can enter text once and then right here, let's say this time maybe a score. Let's try creating something called score here. If you try something like score 0 here, just a quick note. If you increase the font size of this text without setting overflow, it will become completely invisible. The reason is that the text spills way outside the frame, so it just doesn't get displayed. So, if you set both to overflow, then things like this will show up. For example, like this. For example, you can display the game score in the upper left corner. In this way, you can make use of this canvas feature. Alright, thank you all for your hard work. How did you find today's content? Maybe some of you managed to do it, but still don't really understand what's going on. But don't worry. I think as you keep working on it, you'll naturally start to get it. We'll be going over more Canvas features in the next video, where I'd like to show you how to update text from a script. With that, things like the score and time limits will start to work, so it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. See you in the next video. Bye bye.